Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Monday, December 7th City Council meeting of the City of Bel Air Beach. Before we do the Pledge of Allegiance tonight, I had a request from a person, from a citizen, from a Navy citizen, former Navy man, and we want to remember December 7th. Today's December 7th, and December 7th, 1941, over 2,000 American soldiers and civilians lost their lives, and over 1,000 were injured in the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor at the U.S. Navy base. So today we remember the lives lost on that fateful day, and we honor the brave veterans of World War II that fought for our great nation. If you were here earlier, you saw the flag at half-staff. That's why it was there. I'm going to ask for a moment of silence, and then Command Master Chief John Hansig from the Navy is asked to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm going to turn my duty over to him tonight to do that. So we participate in a moment of silence first. Thank you. Command Master Chief. You want to come up here for the mic? Right to it there, go out.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Robin Aki. Here. Councilmember Marv Beam.
Here.
Councilmember Dave Gaddis.
Here.
Councilmember Jody Shirley.
Here.
Councilmember Rita Swope.
Here.
Vice Mayor Glenn Gunn.
Here.
Mayor Joseph Manzo.
Here.
City Manager Lynn Reeves.
Here.
City Attorney Fred Riley.
Here.
And Community Services Administrator Kyle Reifler.
Thank you. First order of business is to approve the agenda. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Dave Gaddis, second. Second by Mark Beam. Any points for discussion? There being no discussion, I will move it to a vote to approve the agenda. We'll do it by a voice vote. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 7-0. Next part is the citizen comments. Each speaker is recognized once and will be limited to 3 minutes presentation on any subject that is not on the agenda. If it's on the agenda, we're going to get to you later. There will be a time for public comment at the appropriate area of the agenda. So if it's not on the agenda, feel free to come up. What we're going to do to keep things healthy here, have you go out that back door, walk around, come down this door here, speak. Please right into the mic. With these masks on, it muffles everything, so you got to get real close to it. The other thing is there's rules of conduct here. In a nutshell, treat people the way you want to be treated. So basically, rules of decorum say don't attack people and follow the rules and we'll all get along fine. So do any citizens wish to be heard at this time? Sir. Yes, thank you. If you'll state your name and address for the record, please, before you begin.
My name is Matt McNally. I represent a company called Windstar Homes. We're a residential design build firm. And I'm here on behalf of a client of ours that has a piece of property under contract. And through the due diligence phases of this design, we've come across a zoning ordinance that seems to be in conflict with what our client would like to do. I just would like to request consideration for a change to that zoning ordinance. So essentially what they're trying to do is they're looking to design and build a contemporary residential structure that's got a very flat type of roof profile system to it. And with doing that, they would like to have 2 levels of living and then a rooftop type of observation deck on top. And per your zoning ordinance section 94-209, there's a line in that stipulates 2 habitable stories may be constructed alongside a garage or storage area. And then there's also another line within that paragraph that stipulates.
Excuse me, can you move the mic up?
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you.
So again, I'll just repeat that section. So in section 94-209, there's a line in that paragraph that talks about 2 habitable stories may be constructed alongside a garage or storage area or above that garage or storage area. And then there's a further sentence in that same paragraph that speaks to a maximum height of 35 feet for their structure. That maximum height type of stipulation is something that we deal with in virtually every jurisdiction that we build in. But the point that our client would like to discuss is the line that stipulates the 2 habitable stories. So, our thought with this is we can easily design a 2+ story home and still stay within that maximum height stipulation of 35 feet. And so I'd really like to just kind of question why that 2-story reference is in there, and maybe make a request to actually strike out the 2-story reference.
Let me just clarify because we normally don't have a back and forth here, but I think so that we know what to do with this. Are you asking the city council to change the ordinance, or are you going to ask for a variance?
I would like you to change the ordinance. So we have discussed this in the previous weeks with your city manager and with one of the engineers. And their response to us is there was no real forum to actually make this request other than submitting for a permit and then having it either approved or rejected as is. That causes our client a lot of heartache with having some less than certain outcome, or at least within a general guideline of what could be built there. And that one particular component of his design programming is very, very valuable to him, and if he cannot do it, he would probably take his business elsewhere. And so he just doesn't want to commit, a substantial sum of money to something that may have no ability to actually be built the way he intends it to be. So I'm not sure what our next step of action could be for this.
Mayor,
Yes?
that was time.
Okay, thank you. All right, so the time's up. I'm going to just, if I have council's permission, I just want to give him the direction that we would be able to go. Is everybody all right with that?
Yeah.
What would happen, we can't do this tonight. This is something that would have to go
Correct.
first to our work session, which we're not going to have another work session until January.
Okay.
Or, of course, your other option, or both, is to seek a variance, with the Board of Adjustment. But this can be brought up at the work session for our discussion. If there's, and that's where we can talk freely. Under the Florida rules, we're not allowed to speak to each other off when we're not here.
Yep.
So in fact, we have a work session after this. We could bring something up on a work session, and then if there's enough council members that are interested, it will move forward, and then the next step would be to actually put an ordinance out, and that would happen the next month. So that would be the procedure if you want to do it. I don't mind bringing it up at a work session, or ask that it be put on our next work session.
Can I just interject? I
Yes.
don't think we have an issue. I'm not sure that I'm understanding, but I don't think there's an issue. I'd like to hear from Lynn why we think there's an issue.
The city engineer, they came to us with some concepts, and what the city engineer had a consult with them and explained what our code says. And I've had a couple emails with them, and I've told them, you can submit this, and if it's denied, you can apply for a variance. That answer over and over and over, I've got emails back and forth from this group that they don't like that answer. So,
I don't understand why it would potentially be denied. They're proposing 2-story and staying underneath the 35-foot height.
It's the plus a rooftop.
it's on the
Observation
rooftop.
deck is that.
Yeah.
But we have
That's the part
houses
that's
that have
covered.
that.
Well, that's
all over the city.
well, Larry's interpretation of the code, and he's the one that would review this. And, my suggestion to him last week was, bring it in. If it's denied, then submit for a variance. Their solution has been over and over and over. Well, we want to apply for a code change, and I said, well, we have a code review committee coming in January, which is the plan right now, and they can look at that. But, they haven't submitted us anything. They've just brought a bunch of concepts. And until that happens,
Well, it's
We
probably It's probably a $75,000 venture to bring you something to get it denied. So
Well,
that's,
It's far more than that. I mean, his client's looking
I mean,
just
to
for.
have drawings, it's not cheap. So there's got to be a solution in between. Can Larry and you and I sit down with them and try to come up with something that's reasonable? I mean, that falls within our code?
well, Larry has looked at it and he's given his comments. And I can have Larry come in again and we'll have a discussion about that. But I'm just basing it on what our engineer is saying.
But what I'm hearing is he's asking actually for us as council members to change the law. He has the right to do that. I mean, we can bring it up to, I like Councilwoman Shirley's suggestion, if you're willing to volunteer your time. I mean, if you can meet, and you can move it to the next council session, to the next work session. It's not going to be till mid-January probably. So if you feel that there's merit to changing that rule, I mean, whether you feel there's merit or not, just to get a discussion, and then we can just, decide yay or nay, and then he has whatever option he has after that. I mean, if we're going to change it, he may not have to do anything.
I think that's the right, oh, yeah, go ahead. Right.
Mr. Riley?
I'm looking at section 94-209, and the last sentence of that provision reads, variances to the provisions of this section shall not be requested or granted. So that's what the rule says in the code.
So he's actually trying to change the code.
Right. So, they were told that there's a code review committee, which tonight, hopefully the charter will be approved and we'll move forward with that. And I also told them if they want to come in to a council meeting, they could do that.
What's your timeline?
He has a hard closing date, like the first week of January on this piece of property. And he's just very, he's a little timid about committing millions of dollars to a piece of property that he may not be able to actually build what he wants. When he knows we can build that same property elsewhere. And we've built that type of structure all around the Tampa Bay region. So it's really just this one small word of two habitable stories is what we're really questioning there.
You can move it to a work session. We do not have to wait for a code change. I mean, that'll be June by the time that rolls around, so it's going to be.
Well, you're still going to have to do a code change, so that's going to be, okay, if we do a work session, then we change the code, that's still April.
I just have an issue because I see this all over the city, where structures are 35 feet and then there's a roof deck above that.
I have a question. What street is the property on?
It's on Howard Drive. And there's another structure just like she's talking about where that exact same example is already there.
Yeah, so I'll get Larry to come in and we'll set something up, Jody.
Can you work it out with the city manager and Councilwoman Shirley to have an appointment, and then we can, the best we can do, and I'm not promising you that it would even make it out of the committee with the work session, but the best we can do is get it out of work session into an ordinance. It still has to pass first reading and second reading. So this isn't an easy process, but I mean, it gives you an option at least. And then of course, you always have the option of going to the Board of Adjustment if you'd like. So you could be doing both. Okay.
When does the Board of Adjustments meet again? That would be something that might be important.
If someone applies, Patty, it's 6 weeks, right?
Approximately,
6 weeks
yes.
from the application date.
So you might want to apply just in case, you can always cancel it.
Okay. And I just apply through,
The city clerk.
okay.
City clerk.
Can the Board of Adjustment override the caveat that's in that section you just referred to, Fred?
I don't know how.
I'm not sure.
It's something that I've noticed also about the code is there's different sets of code for different sections of town. Not everything's the same on every street, so your neighbor a couple of streets over may have something that you can't have on that particular street.
Well, the portion I'm reading from is it's based on the zoning classification, and that's, you have different standards for different zoning classifications. There are some, I'll read another sentence from the code provision. that says permitted exceptions to the height regulations set forth in this section are chimneys, cupolas, and similar decorations, provided no height extension, i.e. cupola, shall be used as a habitable space, and provided no plumbing or electric service shall be allowed after the 35-foot height restriction. I don't know with what you're talking about, what exactly exceeds the height restriction, but the code provision allows for some ability to go beyond it.
What we're requesting, nothing would exceed the height restriction. All we would exceed is the dimension of the 2 habitable stories. So using flat profile roofs that you see more.
I'm having trouble hearing you.
Said we're not proposing anything that would exceed the height max. What we're proposing is something that would exceed the 2 habitable stories stipulation. So we're basically looking to go like 2+ stories, 2.5 stories if you will.
Well, so it's all in the definition of habitable stories. I mean, an observation deck isn't, in my mind, isn't a habitable space. Nobody's living up there or
And
occupying.
per the Florida Building Code, it's not a habitable space as well.
So there may be room for discussion here.
Yeah, I think there
I
is.
don't see changing the ordinance as a time-effective path forward. I don't. The variance thing is kind of questionable right now, so I'm thinking you need to have a meeting of the minds here and a concurrence of what's a habitable space and what's not. 'Cause just at first blush, I just don't see an observation or a walk path on a roof as a habitable.
Council, we're not going to resolve this tonight, and we're not going to give you any binding advice, okay? Anything we've told you is just us shooting from the hip. It's no promise on behalf of the city. So here's the option. You can speak with the city manager, Councilwoman Shirley, subject to her availability. She has extensive experience in building, so she can sit down and go over this. She can bring your motion to the, or bring the motion to the next work session. I agree with Vice Mayor. This is a time, making legislation is, even in a little city, takes a while.
Sure.
So that's an option to you. You have the Board of Adjustment as an option, and of course, then you have to make the decision that's best. So, by all means, take what you think is best to do. We're here for you. If you have a problem and you run into a stone wall, give me a call, and I will move it onto the work session for you, but you're gonna have to be here. I'm not advocating for or against it. I'm just gonna put it on there, and then you can make a presentation to us briefly, and maybe inform us a little bit better of what you're looking for. It is possible to change law, but it's, not easy.
Okay.
Okay?
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizens wish to be heard at this time? There being no other citizen comments, then I'm going to close them. At this point, we have the presentation by the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. Sheriff?
Good evening, I'm Sergeant Lefebvre, Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. Assuming at this point you guys all have the October report in front of you. Very quickly in November, I looked at the CAD history, and does not appear to be any major crimes in the city in the month of November. We'll get a report out to you as soon as we can. For the month of October, if you look at page 1, there were no UCR crimes in the city, and our overall crimes for the year are still way down from previous year. That's good news. On page 2, there was 3 charges this month, but they all stemmed from 1 arrest. It was a self-initiated activity by the deputies on a DUI traffic stop that resulted in 3 different charges for drug possession and for DUI. Moving on to page 3, you'll notice the majority of the activity that the deputies had in the city this month was self-initiated relating to the traffic and parking concerns the city has mentioned in the past. Including 174 direct patrols, 166 traffic stops, and 61 illegally or abandoned, parked or abandoned vehicles. On page 4, you'll see there's only 1 crash in the city this month, which is always a good thing to see. And there were 177 citations and warning issued. Any members have any questions relating to the reports?
I don't have any questions, but I would like to make a comment. I am absolutely amazed at how great of a job you guys do, so I just want to let you know I am so impressed, and I am glad that you're there for us. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It's always appreciated.
Sheriff, Are you going to be at the work session?
Yes, sir, I'll be staying the entire evening.
Will you be representing the sheriff's department?
I will be here for security purposes, sir. I won't be making any statements on behalf of the sheriff.
Then I'll make my comment now.
Okay.
Okay? I normally am very impressed with the sheriff, and quite frankly, this crime prevention is excellent.
Yes, sir.
But when I make multiple calls, myself and people in my household and people around me make multiple calls to report law breaking in our city, an ongoing problem that's been going for 115 days, and the sheriff drives by it, and then the sheriff tells me personally that they're not going to enforce the law, I've got a problem with that.
Yes, sir.
Because the contract says you shall enforce our law, and enforcing the law isn't driving by, in my opinion. So what I would like you to tell everybody here is, if you can, what other laws do you plan on not enforcing, since you're not enforcing the noise ordinance?
Sir, I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to. I don't have a full briefing. I work one shift out here, so I'm here for the quarter of the year. So I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to. I know vaguely regarding, I guess, a day shift issue you're having regarding a noise issue with horns honking, but I'm not well briefed on that at this time. So I can't make any comments directly on that. But as far as I know, any laws that are on the books regarding Florida state statutes, we will be enforcing.
Okay. Any other questions or by the council?
Yeah, we keep saying that the sheriff's office shall enforce those things, but we seem to leave out the second half of that thing, which says they have discretionary powers for that enforcement thing. So, I put my faith and confidence in these guys to do their job to the best of their abilities, and there are a lot of demands on their time and resources, and I think I have faith and trust and confidence in their ability to discern where they need to employ their resources and best utilize their time. Thank you.
Anything else to do for you?
Hang on.
Be careful out there.
Any other council comments? I'm going to open it up to the citizens. Any citizen like to comment? Now, what we're going to do, because we have a safety concern here, because we can't both share the microphone, so normally we ask you to come up and speak at the microphone. So Sheriff, if someone wishes to speak, would you just step aside briefly and then you come back and you can answer, okay?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yes,
Would anyone like to speak or any questions or comments for the sheriff? Ms. Van Scott. Please speak right into the microphone, okay?
All right, can you tell me, should you hear me first? Everybody hear me well?
Yeah, but it wouldn't be bad if you got a little closer to it.
Okay. Is that better?
Yep.
Okay. Jim Van Scoy, 7th Street, Bel Air Beach. I got a copy of a statement here from a citizen who's partaken in the protesting on the corner of 6th Street and Gulf Boulevard. And I'm going to read it. Mayor of Bel Air Beach, filming us while we peacefully wave flags on Gulf Boulevard. He also harassed us by sending 2 deputies to our house to threaten us with fines if we don't remove our political signs, which are perfectly legal. Can't figure out what his problem is. This council,
Excuse me, what does this have to do with the sheriff's report? Because
Let her get
that's
to her
what we're
point.
talking about, is the sheriff's report, not, that's for the next meeting.
I don't think she's gotten to her point, so please continue.
okay. So I've made numerous reports on safety issues. Okay, cars running the crosswalk at 6th Street and Gulf Boulevard. And so my question to the sheriff department is, what can we do about this? Yes, there is protesters out there, and yes, it is a distraction from the drivers. And I actually saw someone run the light, and I kind of think it was because of the distraction. I can't say for sure, but I kind of think it was because of the distraction from the people out there with the signs, okay? There was somebody crossing the crosswalk at the time, okay? So it's becoming a big safety issue when we have a distraction going on by the one crosswalk, which we addressed, this city addressed with Pinellas County at the last work session, about creating even another crosswalk on that end of town for our citizens. So my question is, what can we do to fix that problem? And my other thing, if it is the last time I checked, this council said, they voted on it, that the only one that's allowed to direct the sheriff is the city manager. The mayor has never directed the sheriff. And that's what I want to get across and get on this camera. Never directed the sheriff. He never made a call. Those deputies, after speaking to them, okay, when I spoke to one of the deputies, they actually got reports made on them. And they didn't go over there. They went over there to try to settle this issue. They never said anything about these people's signs. Never said a word about these people's signs. These are lies, if you listen to what the sheriff is saying. Support the blue? We absolutely support the blue. But you don't file 2 police reports against 2 different officers and say you're just supporting the police. I have law enforcement in my family. Who does this? And then post it on social media if you're not trying to get it.
Point of order.
What's the point of order? That's just finished. Sheriff, would you like to rebut that?
I don't believe there's any rebuttal needed if there is a traffic issue that's occurring. Now that's been brought to my attention, I'll pass that information to Captain Liner so I can make sure that the day shift deputies are aware of that traffic concern and they can address that appropriately as they see fit. Like I said, I'm on 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. I'm not saying those during my hours, but I will, bring that to Captain Liner and, let him know that there was a citizen concern regarding cars not stopping at the Gulf 6th Street crosswalk, and he can address that issue.
Let's see if anyone else wishes to be heard. Anyone else for the sheriff? There being no other citizen comments, then I'll close it. Sheriff, thank you.
So thank you.
Appreciate it. Item 4 is a presentation for the Florida League of Cities, the administrator of the Florida Municipal Insurance Trust to the City of Bel Air Beach in recognition of outstanding achievements in safety excellence, and its recognition of the Safety Excellence Initiative. So we have a Safety Excellence Initiative here. Mr. Reeves, did you want to just give us a quick background what this is all about? I know you're more familiar than I am.
Well, it's a program that Florida Municipal Trust put together. Kyle stepped up and Patty. They did the survey. The individual came in and did a survey of our properties, and we scored 90 something on the thing. I don't remember the exact. But also, we were the first city in Florida to achieve that. So, and Patty that put the application together, submitted it, and then an individual came out and did the inspection.
Very well. So we have a plaque over here. Now, normally we'd all get together and shake hands and do everything. We're going to try and do this as keeping as much social distance as possible. But Kyle, I know you're here, and Patty Gentry, if you come over here, we'll
Yeah, I'm going to get a picture, man.
take a picture. Okay. I'll move over here. So, I want Patty Gentry, our city clerk, and Kyle Riefler, our, is it city administrator? Is it, what's the?
Community Services.
Community Services Administrator, to accept this plaque from the Florida League of Cities. First in the state to do this. Congratulations, folks. All right, item 5 is the quarterly board reports. Do we have anyone here from any of the boards? Yes.
Sorry, wrong door.
You might want to pull the mic closer. There you go. Perfect.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Tammy Lavenda, and I am the new chair of the Park and Rec Board. I just have a really quick report because we are only having our third meeting this Wednesday. But just a couple things that we're working on. I'm happy to say that we have a full team of 7 people, and it's a really good group, so I'm excited to be working with them moving forward for the next couple of years. We are working on the 2021 calendar. We're looking at increasing some activities for our community to participate in and some special events. For the first quarter, we're going to try to keep everything as COVID compliant as possible so we don't end up like booking things and then having to cancel them. We're currently working on some surveys of our 13 parks. They're looking pretty good, but otherwise that's really all I have right now, and hopefully I'll have more for you at the next meeting.
See if anyone has any questions for you, okay?
Okay,
Council, is there any questions?
I've got a couple comments for you. Welcome. When you guys decide what kind of events that you want to present to us for approval, are you guys looking at asking the community what they want in order to get their feedback as well?
Yeah, I would love to do that. I know I've talked to Lynn a couple of times about like the surveys that people are putting out, and I know the communication board is looking for ways that we can follow all the rules and still be able to ask people what they're interested in and what they want. So we're trying to right now to just encompass like a large list and try to fit things that, you know, like different groups of people would like. And we're just gonna narrow it down. And if something works and people are interested in signing up for it, great. If it doesn't, we'll just replace it with something else until we find like a core group of activities that people are interested in. But yes, we would love to get a survey out or whatever, asking people what they're interested in.
And one more quick comment. On these events that you're looking at, are you keeping that just for the community, or do you plan on opening them up to the public?
No, just the community, and we're gonna start really small, just because, you know, 6 months ago, no one thought that we would still be like canceling events and like, you know, just because we don't know what it's gonna look like, we're gonna keep the events at a minimum right now. And keep them within the community, and like I said, as COVID compliant as possible until we have more information and we know what it looks like moving forward.
Council, any questions or comments? Let me open it up to the citizens. Citizens, any questions for the Parks Board Chairperson, I'm sorry. There being none, thank you very much, and looking forward to a good new year.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Do we have anyone from any of the other boards? I see no one else. And 5 is completed. So now we have a public hearing, and this is item 6. It's consideration of ordinance 20-04, an ordinance granting to Duke Energy Florida LLC, doing business as Duke Energy, an electric utility rights-of-way utilization franchise prescribing the terms and conditions related to the occupancy of municipal streets and rights-of-way in the city of Bel Air Beach, Florida, for the purpose of providing electric service, providing for severability of provisions, and providing for an effective date. This is the second reading of this ordinance, and the description is that it's a rights-of-way utilization to provide electric service. So first, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Jody Shirley makes the motion, and a second?
Second.
Second is by David Gaddis. Councilmember Shirley?
This, as I understand, is just a housekeeping item and needs to be, it's an extension of a right-of-way grant. It's already, right-of-way easement's already been granted at one point in time.
Council, are there any other comments? Citizens, any comments on this? Back to count there. Yes.
Unfortunately, we're not here on the first reading on this one, but I just have to make a comment. To go 2 consecutive 5-year periods after the 10-year automatically, I really don't know. Just an experience with sitting down with them at the table to discuss projects. And this is mainly headed for you, Jody, if you ever continue with the undergrounding. There's a lot of things that were left right, and I'll just give one for instance, the pedestals that were installed. We had requested flat pedestals, and at the end of the project, one of our neighbors had that pedestal installed flat in front of his home, and we tried to get it, and for some reason, I guess we didn't stick to our guns enough, and we got all the higher pedestals, and we could have got ground level pedestals. So I really don't trust some of the work that they do. That's all.
Council, any other comments? So this is a second reading, it will pass. Councilmember Beam, you don't have any, do you have any proposal to change at this point? Because that would take us back to first. Okay, so it's going to go then the way it is. All right, so there being no other comments then on council, I'm going to read it and call the question. Consideration of ordinance 20-04, an ordinance granting to Duke Energy Florida LLC, doing business as Duke Energy, an electric utility rights-of-way utilization franchise, prescribing the terms and conditions related to the occupancy of municipal streets and rights-of-way in the city of Bel Air Beach, Florida, for the purpose of providing electric service, providing for severability of provisions, and providing for an effective date. This is the second reading. A yes vote will get this passed at this point. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Beam.
Nay.
Councilmember Gaddis.
Aye.
Councilmember Shirley.
Aye.
Councilmember Swope.
Aye.
Councilmember Aki.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gunn.
Nay.
Mayor Manzo.
Nay. So it passes 4-3. City Manager, I'll authorize you to move forward then on this. I guess does it need my signature and then we'll move it forward? Yes. Yes, okay, so that'll be done as soon as you can present it. Please follow. Yeah.
Mayor, the next item,
Yes.
we need to delete that from, because we got to advertise it. It's gotta
Okay,
go
so
here.
because we called it as an agenda, I'm just gonna, procedurally, if no one moves it, it won't move forward. I do have a question for you because I'm confused. When we last spoke about this, we were talking about doing it on December 21st for the meeting, and then I see that we have it December 30th. So I just want to make sure our dates are right, because I did say December 21st last time to the public, and I want to correct that publicly.
It is December 21st.
It is. So what's in our packet here is incorrect then?
Right.
Okay.
No, it was corrected.
It was corrected?
Yeah.
Maybe I have a prior packet then. Okay.
Could be, yeah.
All right, so this is ultimately going to probably be moved to the 21st, which is what our original plan was. It was put on here accidentally. But let me do this the right way. Oh, I don't want to read this whole thing. Listen, anyone on council want to move item 7? Once, twice?
Move it to where?
Move it to be heard tonight. I need a motion.
You can't.
Nobody motioning? Okay, so
I
item
do have
7.
some questions about it.
Yeah, item 7. I mean, if we have questions, maybe tonight's the night to do it, because the 21st is the second reading. But
No, I'm not in favor of a second reading tonight, but I would like to highlight some questions I have, and maybe people can think about it.
So what, we need to move it and discuss it and then close it? And then not pass it?
I hate to do that. Can we, would the council permit, and I don't want to get into a super long discussion, but would we permit the vice mayor to at least get his concerns out here on the record so we could all hear it tonight and think about it? And so we're dispensing with the procedure temporarily. No one opposed? Vice Mayor, you have the floor.
Yeah, my questions deal with Article 2, Section, let's see, 2.1, 1, I think it is, Article 5, Section 5.03, and it deals with eligibility. And at the time we sat down to do these charter amendments, I was in favor of it. And after I read this again, things are starting to come into focus for me. And basically, we've changed the being a registered voter of Bel Air Beach for 12 months instead of 6 months. We didn't change the word regarding physically residing in the city for 12 months instead of the 6 months. But what's starting to come into focus for me is we're using this, who have physically resided in the city. My question is, what does that mean, and what are the boundaries around that? I mean, we have a lot of people here who go on extended vacations with their kids, or go visit family, or go visit other places, exotic places, or have second homes. And my question is what does it mean to physically reside here? I understand being a resident of Bel Air Beach for a term of 12 months versus 6, but I think maybe that needs to be possibly a little specified some more. And again, it's the same thing in the other one. It says must have been a registered voter and residing in the city for 12 months. And I'm just starting to bring that into focus. That's it.
Well, Glenn, I mean, if they're homesteaded, that would mean they are residents of the city. I mean, if they travel 4 months out, they wouldn't be able to be a mayor or council member if they missed over so many meetings as we put on the other ordinance change. So I think they have to understand the way this is written, and I think if you read the other parts in the charter, it would make sense, you know, if they read the whole list of requirements. So I think we could leave this alone, to be honest with you.
As far as residents go, full-time residents, I don't necessarily agree with the homestead option. I think that there are many people that live here now that rent all the time. They vote, they pay taxes, and they participate. And a homestead should not exempt them just because they happen to be a renter.
I don't think we require.
Yeah, that's not I don't believe that's a requirement.
We didn't require that. I know we talked about that, but I think the whole purpose is, I remember, and this was like a year ago when we were on this charter review committee, but it was to keep people who really, it's not a problem if you take a 6-month vacation, as long as you're coming back to Bel Air Beach permanently. If you don't live here and you happen to come down here for the winter, you really shouldn't be on council. That was, I think, the idea of the charter review committee. You know, you shouldn't be governing a city that, you know, if you're a resident of Wyoming, you know.
And I accept that explanation, and I think that was the intent at the time. I'm just questioning whether or not it needs to be tightened up, or if everybody accepts that and we're willing to live with it.
Well, I think B says you must remain a permanent resident of the city during the term of office. So I think that kind of tightens it up there for me, saying that, yeah, if you do take 6 months vacation, it's awesome for you, but if you want to be on the council, you're not going to take those 6 months vacations while on council.
Yeah, we tightened that up with the attendance thing, but you know, this is in the qualifying and the eligibility portion, not in the, okay, you're on council, you know, it's kind of like two different moving parts there, so. I'm certainly willing to go with the consensus here, if that's the interpretation. And
City attorney wanted to be heard.
I was going to say that the charter provisions have to be read in the context of state law, and state election law addresses those kind of standards about what does a resident mean and what does an elector mean, and those things are defined in that area of Florida statutes. So I would suggest to you that you obviously don't want to have a charter provision that's inconsistent with Florida statute. That would cause you problems. I would tell you, I don't think this one, as it's written, is inconsistent at all. I think it dovetails with existing Florida law, which you have to comply with.
Okay. So we will have a second reading on the 21st, and if there's obviously, if that, Vice Mayor, if that satisfies you, wonderful. If not, obviously we can debate it at that point. If it doesn't get through second reading, then we're back to the drawing board. I think we have to start all over again with it. So, Okay, any other comments on, well, 7 is finished, it didn't get moved. So let's move on to the consent agenda. We have 3 items on the consent agenda. The approval of the November 2nd, 2020 City Council meeting minutes, the approval of the November 16th, 2020 City Council work session minutes, and item 10, authorization to execute a purchase order with Duke Energy for a binding estimate to underground the electric facilities on east side of Gulf Boulevard, and that is a purchase order in the amount of $10,281. Do I have a motion to approve the entire consent agenda?
So moved.
Jody Shirley makes the motion.
Second.
Second by Mark Beam. There's no discussion on this. We go right to a vote. I'll do it by voice. All in favor of approving, well, let me read it again because I have to do that to make it official. So the consent agenda, we're approving the November 2nd, 2020 City Council meeting minutes, approving the November 16th, 2020 City Council work session minutes, and authorization to execute a purchase order with Duke Energy for a binding estimate to underground the electric facilities on the east side of Gulf Boulevard. A yes vote passes this. All in favor? Wait, excuse me. City,
Do you want to have public comment?
do we need it on a consent agenda item?
Okay.
Because we normally don't have discussion on it. I'll open it. Public? Nope, there being no public comments, I'll come back for a vote. All in favor? Passing the consent agenda?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 7-0. Consent agenda is passed. We move on to the regular agenda. Item 11, request from the park. We have a request from the Park and Recreation Board to cancel the 2020 event schedule, and that is they are requesting that we cancel the 2020 events due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Was that
Second.
Robin Aki and Mark Beam? I'll open it up. Robin?
No, I mean, 2020 is almost over and COVID is raging, so I think this is a good idea to cancel events.
Any other comments? Open it to the citizens. Any comments? Back to council with Robin Aki having the last word.
I'm good.
Okay, so this is a request from the Park and Recreation Board to cancel the 2020 event schedule. A yes vote will cancel that schedule. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Shirley,
Aye.
Councilmember Swope,
Aye.
Councilmember Aki,
Aye.
Councilmember Beam,
Aye.
Councilmember Gaddis,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gunn,
Aye.
Mayor Manzo.
Aye. So it passes 7-0, and the 2020 event schedule that we had previously approved is now canceled. Item 12, consideration of Resolution 2020-12, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, providing for a schedule of slip rental fee changes for the Bel Air Beach Marina and establishing an effective date. This is, the description on this is the marina slip rental fee changes. First, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Dave Gaddis. Second, anyone?
Second.
Second was Jody, Robin Aki, I'm sorry. Dave Gaddis.
Yes, I think this is something that we've been talking about for quite a bit of time. As you know, one of our citizens took this one and ran with it, and then we passed it off to Parks and Rec, and I think that we've got a pretty good plan here. So I say we move forward with it.
I'm going to second the support on this and the thanks for resident Bill Lusk, who put a tremendous amount of work into this. And also, this comes out of the Finance Committee, as I recall. I think this started with them, went through Parks Board, it went through, and Bill Lusk was kind of shepherding it through throughout this thing, and we've discussed it. So I think it was a good job of everyone working together on this. So all in favor of it? I'm definitely in favor. Anyone else from council?
I have a question. I might be reading this wrong. On the first page at the bottom, it says new licensee slip rental. So this will be effective as of April, the $10.15. But then effective April 1st, 2023, it goes to $9 and $13. And then goes back up 2025 to $10 and $15. Are the numbers wrong? Or am I wrong?
No, Robin. The proposal that was given was any new slip owner
Right.
would pay the new fee, because the new fee technically will be the, the 10 and 15.
Mhm.
But the existing slip owners, theirs will be gradually increased, so they don't get culture shock immediately.
Okay, so the new ones will stay at 10 and 15 until the existing ones catch up. Okay, I read it wrong, just making sure. Thank you.
That's what we had discussed, was easing it in for everyone,
I just read it wrong.
particularly for the people who've been there a long time. Any other council comments? I'll open it up to the citizens. Any citizen comments? I'll bring it back to the council with Dave Gaddis getting the last word. Dave? Okay. All right, so before us now is consideration of Resolution 2020-19. It's a resolution of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, providing for a schedule of slip rental fee changes for the Bel Air Beach Marina and establishing an effective date. A yes vote will pass this. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Swope,
Aye.
Councilmember Aki,
Aye.
Councilmember Bean,
Aye.
Councilmember Gaddis,
Aye.
Councilmember Shirley,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gunn,
Aye.
Mayor Manzo.
Aye. So it passes 7-0. City Manager, City Clerk, please implement.
Yeah, just a reminder, it's not effective till April 1st, so we'll be sending the letters out to the existing slip owners to let them know.
Next, we move to item 13. It's consideration of Resolution 2020-20, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, providing for the city clerk with authority to transmit adopted charter amendments to Muni Code and the Florida Department of State and establishing an effective date. This is council's approval to have amendments incorporated into the charter. We have a motion.
So moved.
Jody Shirley makes the motion.
Second.
Seconded by Mark Beam. Over to Jody Shirley.
Again, just housekeeping, this needs to be done to finalize those amendments that we,
Jody, could you speak in?
I said again, it's just housekeeping to make those amendments official that we're voting on.
That's it. This is the voters overwhelmingly passed these. This is what we have to do to make them into the code and into the charter. So, any other council comments? Open it up to the citizens. There being no citizen comments, I'll come back to council with Jody Shirley getting the last word. Ready for a vote? Everybody from the call it? Okay. So this is consideration of Resolution 2020-20, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, providing the city clerk with the authority to transmit adopted charter amendments to Muni Code and the Florida Department of State and establishing an effective date. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Aki,
Aye.
Councilmember Beam,
Aye.
Councilmember Gaddis,
Aye.
Councilmember Shirley,
Aye.
Councilmember Swope,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gunn,
Aye.
Mayor Manzo.
Aye, so it passes 7-0. Madam Clerk, please transmit these. I'm going to ask you a question. Do you know how long it will take, once you've effected the transmittal, how long it takes them to actually change our charter officially?
The process, approximately 2 months by the time it goes through the entire process of codifying, verifying, and that's just an approximate.
You'll let us know when it officially, you'll get some notification when it happens?
Yes, I can even let you know during each.
I would like to know, just track the progress, because, you know, with state agencies, these things can get lost or something. I just, we want to move this thing through.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, we move to item 14, which is the City Council approval of the charter for the Planning and Zoning Board review of city codes. The description is the council approval of the proposed charter. First, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mark B. Second?
Second.
Second by Jody Shirley. Mark B.
Well, I think we've hashed this out enough. Glenn did a great job on putting this together with the city manager, and let's move forward. Very important.
Council, any other comments? Citizens, any comments? Back to council. Mark, you have the last word. Pass it, right? Okay.
Pass it.
All right. So number 14, we're calling the question, City Council approval of the charter of the Planning and Zoning Board for the review of the city codes. A yes vote passes it. Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Gaddis,
Aye.
Councilmember Beam,
Aye.
Councilmember Aki,
Aye.
Councilmember Shirley,
Aye.
Councilmember Swope,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gunn,
Aye.
Mayor Manzo.
Aye, so it passes 7-0. It's passed. And City Manager, you'll task them and letting them know that you passed this, right?
Well, after it passes, we'll have a discussion, try to set up a meeting with them, hopefully before the holidays.
Okay, item 15, consideration of a draft for a standing advisory committee concept. It was proposed by Vice Mayor Gunn. The description is city council approval to develop a standing advisory committee for the continuity and expediency, and that's it, for continuity and expediency. Okay, I start. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Joey Shirley, second.
Oh, second.
Thank you. Dave Gaddis, Joey Shirley.
Yeah, I think this is a great idea on Glenn's part. We, from time to time, have a need to have an advisory committee, such as the Finance Committee, Parks Planning, that sort of thing, and it's nice to have a group of people that are, kind of have their hand on the pulse of what's going on in the city that can help us on special projects.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I'll just weigh in a little bit. I mean, obviously, everything's pretty much spelled out in the document draft itself, but one thing that's not addressed there is how we get the multiplying effect for the city staff. I mean, the staff is spread kind of thin, and when we come up with projects and stuff like this, you know, we struggle to try to find people. So this gives us an extra resource to depend on their standing. We don't have to take the time to advertise it, put together voting, and put together the committee. They're up and running, they're familiar with the budgets, they're familiar with the codes, so there's some continuity and expediency involved in it. The other thing we're finding is it gives us a source for more resident engagement, and we're finding out that some of these other committees, we've gotten a lot of benefits from that. People, when the residents get a say in these committees, they stand behind it, and they obviously take that information back into the community and can act as disciples for some of this information. And it just gives us some extra divergent thinking on some of this stuff. We don't get into a group think with just a council, and as people change out in the council, it's going to provide more continuity. Thank you.
Vice Mayor, I had a question for you on this thing that says next here. If conceptually feasible and beneficial, then the city manager will begin the process of formalizing. What did that mean?
Well, I think it's actually just move it out of the draft stage and start building the actual skeleton for how we want to do this. Put it into actual motion, saying, okay, it's no longer a draft. This is the plan for how we're going to do it, and this is the timeline for incorporating it. This is how we're going to advertise for people, and this is how if we need a resolution, there's more to it than just this draft of the concepts.
Yeah, that's what was confusing me, and I think, and we can defer to the city attorney on this one. City Attorney, can you bring it into the open, please? Tell us what you were discussing. This is a sunshine meeting, so please tell us what you were just discussing with the city manager.
Yes.
You have to tell us.
I was just asking Fred if we could, what we'd have to do to adopt an additional committee, like we have the park board and the code and those things. That's what I was asking.
Okay. And I was actually going to speak to that. In my reading of this, it has to be done by ordinance. So I think
Right.
that the next step would be for us to do an ordinance on this if we decide that we want to move forward on this. This isn't really a resolution tonight, but I mean, it's kind of almost a work session thing. I don't mind moving it forward to the next step of an ordinance, but I think ordinance is the right way to go on this thing.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look at the actual references, because it talks about an ordinance or a resolution is what I think it says. So, I mean, we need to go back and, what's the best way to chisel that and grant it, I guess, is what
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I was expecting it to be an ordinance, so it's codified. That's,
I read it today and I thought it was an ordinance, and I think particularly if we're going to, and I think the only other question I have with this is 3 years is a long term. That's a council member's term or vice mayor, mayor's term. I don't think we have any other committee that has that long of a time. So that was, if we're going to go that long, we definitely want to codify this thing and definitely do it via ordinance. So, but if we want to move it forward, we can take a vote on that. I'm going to defer to the city attorney though. This isn't a resolution, so can we take a vote here just as a consensus to move us forward?
you could do a consensus. My understanding, it's not neither an ordinance or a resolution at this point, it's a concept.
Okay. All right. So, council, any other comments?
Yes, I would like to say something. Vice Mayor Glenn Gunn, you always do some impressive work on various projects, and thank you for undertaking this. Again, I'm going to just echo Jody, Councilmember Shirley. She said everything I was going to say, but thank you. You just always go above and beyond, and it's just impressive.
Thank you. Any other council comments? Open up to the citizens. Any comments on this? Back to council with Jody Shirley having the last word.
You know, all I can say is when we had the finance committee, they did a incredible job. That group of individuals really were professional, had a lot of experience behind them, and that's what I envision this to be, a group like that. So I'm in support of moving forward.
So tonight, what we're going to do is this is a consensus to move this forward. The city manager will continue. Glenn Gunn, I mean, I think most of everything in here is going to be workable. So you'll work with him to refine it. We have to get it to an ordinance. I believe you can double check it, but when I read it this morning, it said ordinance. Let's get it to an ordinance, and then we can do our double reading, and this thing should be able to be through by hopefully by February. Okay. So yes, so let me call this question. So this is a consensus to move forward to consider the draft that has been provided by Vice Mayor Gunn for the Standing Advisory Committee concept. The yes vote will move it forward. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Beam,
Aye.
Councilmember Gaddis,
Aye.
Councilmember Shirley,
Aye.
Councilmember Swope,
Aye.
Councilmember Aki,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gunn,
Aye.
Mayor Manzo.
Aye. So it passes 7-0. We'll move it forward, and if you can, I mean, I know it's the holidays. If you can get it for January, that's wonderful. If not, it'll appear at the first chance we can for an ordinance. Unfinished business. Do we have any? City Manager, I think you had one in the minutes that you were going to be working on some proposals for us for the supplemental police patrols in the city.
Yes, I got the pricing and everything, but what I need from the council is how much do you anticipate you want to, how often do you want to do it, and what kind of money do you want to fund it with, as an example. That's what I asked last month. And so hopefully you can kind of give me some guidance on that, because we'll have to do a budget amendment. Contract simple. We won't ever announce when it's happening, so we can move this forward, but I need to know what the council's thought is on it.
As I recall, we were talking quarterly, and I think that was at best, you know, depending on the cost and the success. It's not a commitment. I think we do them one by one as we use them, but that's what I remember. I don't know if anybody else had a different idea.
Yeah, I was going to say, we don't have a budget, so that's, clearly hard to say what we're going to spend on it without taking a hard look at those finances and, where we have excess. I think we originally talked about like zeroing in on holidays and, busy times like that. I think that was kind of the no-brainer, like let's say, okay, yeah, these days are going to be, New Year's Eve's coming up. That's probably a good time to have extra patrol on duty. Things that are obvious like that to begin with and see where we go from there.
That's what I recall. And we were talking about holidays. We're talking about when people start pouring back in here in January. Yeah.
Weekends, and of course, it's hard to tell when you have a week like this, when is the weather going to be nice that, everyone's going to hit the beach on Saturday. So maybe a weekend here and there, and holidays would be our main focus. That's what I would propose.
Vice Mayor?
Can I make a suggestion? I will work with the city manager and maybe come up with a requirements base rather than just saying, we want to throw X number of dollars at this thing and maybe we got money burning a hole in our pocket, we can, or this. Let's figure out what holidays, how many hours, and come back to you and say, okay, here's option A, we need so many man hours at this cost, we can cover these holidays, these periods. Let us come up with some options rather than just try to shotgun a.
My only concern, I love it, but can we get a proposal for January? Because if we're gonna study this and study it, we're gonna miss this season and we're gonna have the same
Well,
stuff like we had
well,
last year.
I will tell you, I've talked to the sheriff about doing something during the holidays, okay? I'm not gonna tell you what day, because.
Oh, no.
So I've talked to him about that, but, you know, I know Councilmember Gaddis, if I recollect, you said something like $3,000 a quarter or something. And I may be wrong with that number, but it was just a thought process. To start off with, I can go ahead and do that. I'll just move some money out of the code enforcement budget, because there's a little bit there that we can play with code enforcement. So, but going forward, you know, we talked about, of course, the summer holidays, the Easter time frame, Easter break, you know, the 4th of July, things of that nature. And some other weekends that are scattered, because the problem really isn't, I wouldn't say it's a weekday problem, it's a weekend problem. And focus on areas as an example. What we found in the studies was the speed off the bridge, the red light here, turning and rolling. Somebody put a sign up there last week, just to let you know. Somebody drew a sign and put it on there, don't stop. So you know, those are what we're going to go after initially, crosswalks occasionally. But I think the focus is this area here, because that was the biggest problem.
So we're actually talking even before January, if we're talking about this holiday season, so pitch a dollar value at us. I mean,
Well, it's $55 an hour, and to do it effectively, it's whatever hours we use, you're going to end up with, you need 2 people, you need a spotter and you need another deputy, because you're not going to gain much. Here you might be able to gain much with using whatever, but when you're talking about rolling through the stop sign or running the crosswalk or things of that nature, you've got to have a spotter. So depending how many hours we do it, it's probably going to cost us, let's say we did it a couple days during Christmas holidays, New Year's holiday, whatever, and it's 3 or 4 hours, so that's double that. That's about $500 per shift that we use it for.
I think it was basically what it would have been, the amount of charges would have been. That was free, but whenever they showed us what the total would have been, we certainly didn't want to spend that much.
Right.
But I think that after we looked it over, that about 1/4 of that, and then we pick and choose effective dates and times, would be the best utilization of those resources.
Okay, so we'll put something together with, beyond the new year. But we will do something
Sooner, maybe.
sooner.
Yeah, we're not going to tell you. So, let us know how it goes when it goes.
Right,
Okay?
right.
I'm sure we'll hear about it. My phone will start ringing.
Okay.
Okay. Any other unfinished business? That'll close it. City Attorney?
Nothing this evening.
City Manager?
Just to give you some quick updates, 7th and 8th Street project is underway. If you haven't been on those streets, the people that live on them, there's pipe everywhere. Tomorrow they're going to do some milling. We're going to meet in the morning because we're going to look at those areas like at the beginning of the street we're gonna mill that area and try to repave it.
Is that the area that got grooved out with the
Right,
hurricane? Oh, that's
right.
great. Yeah.
The beach boardwalks, the 4 accesses that Pinellas County gave us $50,000 toward, that's underway. Everything's been pulled out. They're starting to put the pilings in for the new walkovers. Undergrounding on the west side of Gulf Boulevard is cabling. They're doing that, and I know you've seen a lot of trucks. We've got Duke here and Spectrum, and we're working that forward. Right now, I was told Friday, the schedule for the 22nd Street shoot is the 16th, and that should be a one-day shoot of, it's just one run, so they shouldn't have a big trouble with that. The tennis courts, we're supposed to start this week, but they're delayed a few days, but that will start. Communications Committee, we sent that, the survey out by Constant Contact, the old list. Patty's been getting inundated with emails. To date, we've got 104 back. And it's good that we ask for them to give us their address, because that way we can verify that they actually are residents. Because we've gotten a couple back that we don't even have that street here. So we're looking to build a resident database. So, and then after this, we'll mail after the first of the year to the rest of the residents. So as of last Friday, we had 82, because we ran a little study to see how many of the previous lists we got back. We got 82 of them, and we got another 25 of the others. So we're picking up a few. I left at your, we just got these in, I left at your place tonight pictures of the redeveloped sign, those concepts. That we talked about, the hybrid, which is the second page, or the electronic, which is the first page for you to look at. So if you've got any comments on that, please send them to me so I can get this resolved and we can move forward with what we're going to do. We got notified also, our finance people, they got their Government Finance Association Certificate of Achievement. We got notified today, and that's congrats to Heather and Andy. They've done a real good job for us, and been very cost effective. So
That worked out real well, actually.
yeah, it's turned out well. We're going through the audit now. The auditor's going to be here next Thursday and Friday for a couple days with them, and it's worked out very well. I also left you the code report for last month. It looks like a lot of stuff on there. One of the items, sections on there is because of people's trees were overhanging the road in the fire department. So it looks like a lot of activity, and really it was focused to keep tree limbs and stuff so the fire trucks wouldn't hit them. And then we did start on the boat tour that I've taken with Dave, and Laura took with Jody, and we started notifying the homeowners of the issues there. So we've started that process. So, and that's it.
Did you hear back from DEP?
Yes, I did talk to DEP. I talked to the local person. She told me that a Mr. Martinello would be contacting me eventually. She kind of led me to believe that there's a discrepancy in what the statute says and what they say. So that's got to be resolved, because Pinellas County says that property is considered public, and her interpretation is a little bit different, but she said she has nothing to do with it. She's just the picture taker and sent it forward. She did tell me that they might have us plant something at 19th Street, but that's pretty much what she told me, and they are growing back. So we'll resolve that when it gets to when Mr. Martinello, she said it may be 2 or 3 months before they get back to us.
When did you speak to them? When did you speak to them?
I'd have to look at my computer. I sent emails, I called them, left messages, and it was not a, how do you call it? It took several messages and phone calls to even get a response, but that's typical DEP.
But Lynn, I think it was over 2 weeks ago, because I was at the beach, excuse me, and they've started growing back. I mean, everything was pretty green and 4 inches high when I was there a couple weeks ago. So
Yeah.
19th Street, there's a problem on the north side, has nothing to do with what our city did. So that's resident induced, so if there's additional planting being done, it's a resident on Bel Air Shore that's killing those, not the city.
So I made about 10 calls to them to try and get an update for tonight, because I remember they said there was like 100 calls from citizens, so I said we had a council meeting. It took like 10 calls, so that part is correct. They told me something quite a bit different than what you heard, and I did speak to Mr. Martinello. So as of Friday, and this could change as of tomorrow for all I know, but they said they're going to issue a report sometime this week. Don't hold your breath, but supposedly this week. The good news is that they're not going to fine us. The bad news is that we did violate the law. A permit was required to cut that stuff down. And they would never give a permit to cut it to the levels that it was. The good thing is that you're correct, it's growing back. And they seem to say, instead of having to do the replanting, that they're just going to let it grow back and monitor it with us. They're going to do what's called an outreach. And that outreach will basically just be a stern warning to us to never do this again. Make sure we get a permit in the future. And as long as we do that, there wouldn't be any fines or any penalties or anything like that. And then they're going to monitor it to make sure it grows back properly. Much like Councilwoman Shirley, I've been looking at the 6th Street one. It is starting to grow back. So it will be back, I'm sure. But I know you're never going to get to do this again. You're going to have to get a permit from them. And usually the permit will let you cut it from like 8 feet to 6 feet. I've read all 65 pages of this rule, so you don't get to cut it down to the level that it was cut to. But that, we lucked out this time. That's what they told me. When we get the report, you're going to get a copy. It's going right to the City Hall here, so you should get a copy of it. And they're going to give me a copy, so we'll see where it goes from there. But luckily, they're not going to force us to replant that, because that would be pretty expensive.
Well, I'm just telling you what I was told.
And what's the status of the police complaint that was filed against you and your public works staff?
Well, I've asked for a copy of that, but I haven't received it. I was told that when they close it, they will forward it to me.
So there's still a police complaint that's open against?
Right. And I don't really know what the police report says, but I know there was a complaint filed.
And then I assume, just moving forward, we'll have a protocol of some sort. You'll have something in a manual that tells staff how to handle any trimming along the beach, that sort of thing. It's a learning lesson, and I think in the future, if any of us encounter this again, the first call to make would be to the city and not the police and not the DEP, and try to come up with a solution in the city rather than involving outside agencies. That's a lesson I learned.
I'm going to agree with Councilmember Shirley on that. I mean, that's the way to go. I mean, somebody obviously made a mistake. It didn't need to go to the level it went to. It's going to grow back. It's going to be fixed. So, I mean, we just need to move on as a city. This is insane.
DEP, so you know, folks, received over 100 complaints. They had so many that they asked me to ask the citizens to stop complaining. So this was a serious issue. And as I said to Mr. Martinello, if If this were two guys, you know, drinking some Budweiser and ripping out these things, they'd be on the front page of the Tampa Times and being arrested. So this is serious. And as long as I'm living here, I don't want to ever see this happen again. It's that simple. So I hope it doesn't. Any other comments or questions for the city manager?
I have a comment about the last topic, which is I understand people make mistakes, and this could have happened to anyone that did not know what they were doing. And as long as we have some sort of a training program, some type of documentation, I'm sure it won't happen again. Just a hard lesson, all it is. And I know that the tone sounds awful, but I don't feel the same way, and I think that whoever did it needs a pass, and they just need a nice talking to and better training.
Any other comments? City clerk?
No, nothing.
That was nothing, right? You're not by the mic, so I'm just going to repeat what I heard. No comments, right? No.
Correct, nothing.
Okay, yes. Okay, city council comments at the even month. We start with Robin Aki.
No comments, I'm good.
We're out of order. Mark Beam.
No comment.
Dave Gaddis.
Nope.
Rita Slope.
No.
Glenn Gunn.
No comment.
I have only, I'm missing someone. Jody Shirley, I'm sorry, I went out of order.
Oh, that's okay. I just wanted to tell everyone Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I hope, you know, everyone enjoys their time with their family. And I want to thank the city staff, city manager for everything you guys do. And, you know, I'm trying to get together a opportunity to support our police department by having a luncheon and something to recognize them here at City Hall. And Glenn and I are working on some dates, and we'll try to pass that along if anyone wants to join us for that. That's it. Merry Christmas.
Great, thank you. I'm sorry, I went out of order. Glenn Gunn, you had comments?
No comments.
Okay. I have two comments from the Big C. We had a Big C meeting a couple weeks ago. There were two issues. One, the Big C has asked all the mayors to write a letter. I think it's to the state, if I'm not mistaken. It could be to the feds. They have a problem. I wish we had this problem. They have too much sand, and the sand is building up in Johns Pass, and it's starting to restrict boat travel. It's starting to restrict the marine mammals coming through. So they want to try and get that stuff dredged, and they're looking for all the support they can. I have no problem in writing this letter if I have the time to do it. Before I committed my efforts to it, I want to make sure that the council is supportive of it. If they want it, I'll try and put something together. I'm not guaranteeing I'm going to get it done, but I think I will be able to. Does anybody have a problem with me writing that letter? That would go on city letterhead, Mr. Reeves, so if I get it done, I think it's two letters. They want one to the mayor, saying that we support him, and then one to the county, I think it is, or the state to do it. So I'll try and get that done.
So can I ask a question? Are they hoping to have the sand relocated back out to the beach, back up to probably Clearwater Beach where it came from?
Yeah, I don't know if they need it. They actually have, I guess they have the shoals or whatever, so they don't have a sand, they don't need renourishment, so I don't know what they're gonna do with the sand, but I guess they have Congressman Christ and everyone else involved in this thing, because it's not that easy, I guess, to get people to move the sand out, but every mayor said, we'll take it, but it's not that easy. So that's what they're trying to do, it's not a gimmick.
Yeah, because that seems, that's pretty natural, right,
Yeah.
when the sand moves. And I know Clearwater Pass is having some issues too, not nearly as bad, but if you drive over, you'll see there's a filling in of the new beach on the northeast side of the pass there, so.
Their mayor strongly endorsed the shoals that they have, because that is actually, they're collecting sand as opposed to losing it, which is problems that most of the beaches have. So. And the second topic is actually on beach renourishment. I'm just going to pass on what I know. There's people who are doing this full time. So Bel Air Beach, congratulations. We had 100% return of all of our beach easements that needed to be done. But before we celebrate, okay, we had it, I believe Clearwater had it, Sand Key, but they were going pretty well in Indian Rocks, and then a citizen wrote a letter to all the citizens, scaring them, and giving a lot of information, some correct, some not correct, according to the mayor. I've not seen this information. not only has stuff stopped, the people have actually said, we want to take our approvals back. So what I was told, and I will convey it exactly as I was told, it is not a gimme. People are walking around saying they're going to do it anyway if you don't get 100%. The answer was no or not. They said that it doesn't matter whether you get the easements. Yes, it does. And that's what everyone has said, that basically the whole project is in danger if they don't get the 100% compliance. To make matters worse, if the project gets pushed off, we don't become eligible again until 2030. So take good care of the sand out there, because you may not get any more of it until 2030. There's nothing we can do about it unless you know folks who live in those areas, tell them to sign the easements. But the mayor's going to try and reach out, another council is trying to reach out, they're going to have education forums, but this whole thing is in danger at this point in time, okay? So it's approved, at least Bel Air Beach has done everything you can do. So talk to your friends south of here and see if we can't get them to get this thing done, because they basically reserve the right not to do any of it if they don't get all of those waivers, those easements. That's all I had, other than I wanted to...
Mayor, just to
Yes.
let you know, yes, we got all of our easements, and so did Clearwater, and they are sending a letter to the Corps of Engineers. The county is doing this on our behalf to try to get them to at least consider the sections that have got 100%. South of us, they're, for the most part, they're less than 50%.
Yeah.
Yeah, we worked with the county to get those easements, and it worked out okay.
So if they if they won't give us that variance of doing a small section, then do we still have to provide parking?
Well, we have to provide it for 10 years from the time of the last, so that would be, I think I looked into that, it was like 2028 or something. That's part of the requirement. So.
It was a couple of years ago that we got the Renourishment, I think,
Right.
2 or 3 years ago.
I think
We
it
need to
was,
double check that. If they're gonna pull back the continued renourishment, I'm sure there's some clause in there that we don't have to continue providing parking, and I would propose, let's pull the parking.
Yes.
We got about 6 months out of that sand. We had a storm right after they finished.
Right.
It's worth getting our beach away for.
right. So we did our due diligence, we hope the ones south do it.
It's going to be a hard sell. This apparently was a pretty good letter, and it apparently has some merit to it. Again, I take no legal position. I haven't seen the letter, but it was a problem. So before we leave, I want to give 2 pieces of, well, first I want to wish everybody happy holidays, and there's some special council meetings, but these are quick things. Monday, November 21st will be that second reading of those charges. December 21st, yep. And that's at 6 p.m. That will last all about 5 minutes. And something that everyone should be aware of is that the city council election qualifying begins Friday, December 11th at 8 a.m. and it ends Friday, December 18th at 12 noon. If you want to be on city council, you have to speak with our city clerk. She's also our director of elections. She will get you set up with what you need to do to qualify. It's nice to talk on social media, it's nice to talk to your friends, but if you want to make a difference, you got to get on council. So this is your opportunity for anyone in the city. So I invite everyone to partake in that. Okay, other than that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second, and all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.